You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah. We got it for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Talk 'em in the Building, a pro wrestling podcast that puts the focus on the promo. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and of course we pontificate upon the promo. I'm Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me. I'm joined by the rest of the team. We got Greg here representing the Atlanta Braves. Better luck next year.
Unfortunately, first time I haven't been in the postseason since 2017. But hey,
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
We set a record for the number of players we use this year. A lot of injuries and stuff, but you know, it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
We'll come back next year.
We'll be back next year. And out west, we got out of Leeds sitting pretty in LA. What's going on, man?
You know, what can I say? I'm not repping Dodgers. I'm repping Fantastic Four today. But
Nice.
you know how it is.
Word. Okay, so for this episode, y'all, you already know we have our Dusty review, where this is a shorter episode where we talk about something recent and we grade it. We basically determine whether or not it talked you into the building, and we grade it from a scale of 1 to 5 Dusties, 1 being you could have kept that promo elsewhere. We don't want it. To number 5 is must-see television. We got to watch it back on YouTube, and we can't wait for when they come to town or that sort of thing. So today's episode, fellas, we got to talk about this NXT TNA invasion angle that we're currently getting. But before we talk about that, y'all, we got plenty of back episodes. Go to intothebuilding.com. We got a list of full episodes where we break down things from the past, the present, and the future of pro wrestling, and about these promos, because that's what we love. That's what made us create this podcast, and hopefully y'all enjoy those conversations. And we have special episodes like this where we do these quick reviews, our Dusty reviews. And of course, we have our Rushmores of Wrestling series that we always have fun on those little debates here or there. Again, we all love pro wrestling. You're watching this, you obviously love pro wrestling too. Just leave a like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. All right, fellas, but before we jump into this segment that happened, let's talk about it. NXT TNA have been in a working relationship for going on a year, I would say, close to a year at this point. I don't want to kill what we're going to be talking about, but I want to at least ask you guys. I'm going to start with you first, Greg. What are your initial thoughts, or what are your thoughts so far with the NXT TNA partnership?
So first off, I love it. I love the fact that we actually are getting something like this, that WWE doesn't own TNA, right? I mean, now they own AAA. You're going to see that crossover. They don't own TNA, so there's actual working relationship, and they've kept certain things separate. I like it because we always talk about that forbidden door in the past. We've always talked about, man, what if WCW and WWE ever did something? What if AEW and WWE did something? But now we kind of have it on a different scale, and it's kind of cool. I like how they're doing it. I feel like there's a long-term story, like sitting back watching, NXT wrestlers take all the belts and watching all of us in the IWC crash out. That's always fun too. But I'm like, they're not dumb, right? There's a place that we're going with it, but it intrigues me to watch both. You and I have talked about, especially over the past couple of years, TNA has been the best hidden secret in pro wrestling for the last few years.
Yep.
They've produced so much talent. They've had great matches. They've had great storylines. They've truly come out of that whole LOL TNA thing.
Definitely.
And they're legit. And if anybody doesn't think they're legit, dude, the TNA World Champion was on WrestleMania. I don't care what happened. He was on WrestleMania. He was in the Royal Rumble. So now having that working relationship, I enjoy it. It makes me more involved and more aware of
Right.
TNA,
Right.
more aware of NXT, more invested, and jumping around a little bit, seeing the surprises that show up week to week reminds
Mm.
me of the Monday Night Wars.
Mm.
Who's going to show up? Oh, Cardona showed up. Are they going to call him Cardona? What's going to happen? I mean, this is so many little things. It's fun to me. So it's kind of a throwback to me, but also, man, what can the future hold?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's still a lot of they've made some cool choices and decisions with booking and angles,
Hmm.
and I think like what we're going to be talking about, I think this is a very intriguing opportunity for both promotions, both companies, realistically wise. But
Hmm.
out of lead, man, when we're talking about invasion angles, I mean, it's been invasion angles per se in the past, and they haven't quite landed.
Yeah.
I want to know from you, what were those angles missing that NXT and TNA possibly can do?
Well, I'm gonna be the curmudgeon today because
Yeah.
I don't have faith in this. I just
Okay.
don't. I
Cool.
don't have faith in it. This idea that they're separate, that they're not being paid. Look, let's be real. There's got to be some money exchanging hands here. They're
Mm,
not just getting exposure, and if they are, they're dumb for just doing that. It feels a bit, Invasion 2.0 to me, a little bit.
mm,
Why? Because who are most of these people that we're getting excited about? Like Cardona, right? Cardona could have come back 1,000 times by now. He's chosen
mm,
not to,
mm.
right? And then you see this, all these faces, right? The Iconics, they're not the Iconics anymore, right? And I can go down the line, right? What was jarring to me was to see Ali on TV, but again, for me, it's almost like it's a little too late. You guys
Mm.
they had their chance to make them stars. Why wait for an invasion angle? It feels like, this is TNA talent that is almost a holdover. It's not your mainstays. If this had been maybe back when AJ Styles was in TNA, maybe when Abyss was in TNA, no, those guys are on their way out or they're just backstage, right? We're not
Mm.
talking about this golden era of TNA. We're talking about a modern era that's very good, incredible pro wrestling happening. It's not clicking for me quite yet. It feels a little bit like, like we're just naming the brand and it's something cool. But
Mm.
as far as having staying power long term, I don't see it. Not at this point.
That's fair. That's fair.
So let me retort.
Yeah.
Allow me to retort. Um, First off, I don't think Cardona has had chances to come back.
I don't think
He's
so
pretty
either.
much sat out there and begged to come back. I mean, you
Yeah.
watch him every single time. Of course, I take the call. They haven't called me. What would I do? Would I play? Would I come back at Royal Rumble with Zack Ryder? Of course I would. What? And he listened to him on podcast after podcast and everything. He's always talking about he wants to come back. I don't think he's had the chances, but now he is seen as a TNA talent. And here's one reason I say that: they called him Matt Cardona.
Mm.
If they didn't want to, they would have called him Zack Ryder. And they've done that with a couple of little people here and there. When Fandango first came out, I like
Mm.
what they did, or Dongo or whatever. They kind of played his music and then they transitioned it, kind of say, okay, yes,
Mm.
this is who it was, and now we transition them. But I mean, you're right, right? There's some WWE former WWE stars in TNA, but that is what it is now. If we did the same thing with AEW today, you don't think it'd be Moxley and Edge and Christian represent AEW? You'd have Darby, you'd have a couple others, and maybe Kenny, but you would have those guys.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, and vice versa, right? You would have Cody. Let's call it what it is. If you flipped it
Yeah.
over WWE versus AEW, you'd have Cody, you'd have Punk. Let's call it, if Punk's not there, if it's not for AEW. So I get where you're going with that, but here's where I would push back a little bit. If, let's just hypothetically say they did say, oh, AJ comes in, who's he going to side with? That would be recycling the Austin thing back from the invasion.
That's fair. That's a good
And
point. That's a very
and
good point.
and you're right though. But also think about this. Back in the day when you had AJ on fire, you had Abyss, and you had Samoa Joe, Rude, all these guys that were huge in TNA. WWE was here. TNA was way down here. We're looking at NXT. So we're looking at NXT versus TNA. We're not looking at WWE versus TNA. So now I know what you're saying. It'd be great if we could have, get that your proverbial time machine and bring those guys up. But I think with what we have today, I think it's great.
Yeah.
And what I do have to compare it to, I don't look at the old Invasion angle. I look at what did AEW do with TNA. They had a working relationship and it failed. And I was excited about that. I actually liked how they did Kenny. I liked what they did with him having both titles. I liked how they kind of, even Tony coming in, kind of playing that,
that heel
snarky
character,
little
yeah.
asshole role.
Yeah.
I liked all that, but it just kind of fizzled and didn't go anywhere. I like that this is being done properly with another promotion that's more on TNA's level than an AEW or an WWE.
I think it's their best opportunity to be somewhat on even ground.
Yeah.
By perception wise, you know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Because you got to be honest, WWE they're the standard, like we can't, if we were to say TNA is matching up against the WWE's main roster, then we're just going to have the invasion angle from long ago where it's like, these guys ain't going to beat Roman Reigns.
Right.
These guys aren't going to do.
You're making my point real easy here. We just opened with there was a TNA World Champion at WrestleMania. That's I mean, we're arguing it's we have to have parity here. And I guess my thing isn't necessarily bringing back AJ Styles now. Back then, it's back then.
Yeah.
Like, what would that look like with that roster having invaded WWE at the time? Very different. And there was rumors, right? Abyss was going to come in. There's going to be an Undertaker Abyss match. Obviously, he chose to stay with TNA, and props to them because that whole generation was not given their due. Right? There was a lot of lost opportunities. So I appreciate it here, but you got to believe that half these guys, if they're offered a WWE contract from TNA, they are going to jump on it because they would love to come back.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. And then where does that leave TNA ultimately?
But that's 100%. But I mean, you think about back in the day when WWE had a working relationship with ECW, had them come invade them in your house, then invade Raw. Every single one of them, I don't care who it was. Well, pretty much all of them did come to WWE, but they all would have signed moments.
The bad thing is that they didn't know
what it is.
They didn't know what
it is.
Paul was double crossing them.
We're sitting here on I love doing the show with you guys, but Pat McAfee said, "Hey, come leave your show and come jump over here right now." Bro, I'm going to do everything I can to be with y'all on tonight, but you're going to see me on ESPN getting paid a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And so at the end of the day, they're going to jump from TNA to NXT, but I don't think there's a big parity there, or their money may not be that much different, or you actually may make more in TNA. However, the future is brighter going through NXT because where you can go.
That is true.
I agree.
That is true.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into it because today's segment, this episode, we're going to do a Dusty review about the TNA NXT Invasion match announcement, team announcement.
Stacy, you can think what you want, but the point is I accept all responsibilities when it comes to being TNA Knockouts World Champion. Even if that means going against NXT, but especially if that means
traitor?
I get a chance to shut you up. But for Team TNA, I'm picking two iconic women. And if you ask me, the new TNA Knockout Tag Team Champions, Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee, the inspiration! Yes. Yep. And for the final member of our team, I thought long about this one. Someone I shared a locker room with. Someone who has something to prove. Someone who has a chip on their shoulder. And that woman is Mara Shade!
And let me keep it a buck with all of y'all real quick. Next Tuesday, we're seizing the night, and TNA is winning Showdown. The same way I'm walking into Bound for Glory and bringing that TNA World title back home where it belongs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, out of lead, I want to know what are your thoughts on the upcoming matches? Because I know offline we did talk about Mustafa
Right.
Ali, and I mean he did get a good reaction with that NXT hometown
Yeah.
crowd. What matches stand out to you potentially?
I mean that's probably my number one with the Bullet. I think I love Ali. I like what he's done. He's trying to reinvent himself. I don't think it's gone the way that he probably expected across promotions. But just to see that North American title, right? Just to see this, Ethan Page completely recreate or renew his character in NXT, which is, I think we all knew if we've been following along enough. Creative dude,
Yeah,
bright dude, put in the work for the body and everything, and obviously got a stamp of approval from Rock. So I mean, if this guy isn't on the main roster by next year, I don't know what's going to happen. So it's an interesting pairing. I think it's a good one. Everything else seems pretty on point. There's nothing else that is going to be like must-see TV for me. It is jarring, I will say, to see Frankie Kazarian on WWE TV.
yes,
because
yes,
I
yes,
thought he was done. I thought that was over.
Yeah.
But my dude, Santana, man, that dude bet on himself, and I think this is just a blessing. It's such a blessing for him because he was just so dead set on TNA, going solo. Breaking out from the tag team, and now here he is, like front and center, closing out that promo before the brawl. And man, that dude is money, and I that's someone that I'm going to keep my eye on the most right now.
Absolutely, and he's over. He's over in a major way with that crowd. We're all cheering for him. Just overall, wrestling fans are cheering for that guy to be successful. So, Greg, I do. Speaking of Santana, I love the fact that not only did he essentially work on, in Santana's few words there, not only did he bring you or talk you into the building for next week on NXT, but he's talking about Bound for Glory on NXT television, saying, I'm taking back my championship. I want to know your thoughts, because my ears perked up when I first heard that. I'm like, oh, we're talking Bound for Glory. Like, we're actually bringing this verbiage out. We're not just saying Trick Williams walk around with the TNA championship. Santana's saying, I'm beating this man at Bound for Glory. What are your thoughts on that simple addition to his promo?
Well, I think I'm going to back up for 1 second.
Yeah.
I love what they're doing with Santana.
Mm-hmm.
I love, because I didn't see this coming. Not this type of character from him. I mean, we saw him in LAX. We saw some little sprinkling here and there. But when I watch him, and he has so much more charisma. I mean, I love seeing him as a singles, and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm watching a little bit of a young Conan. Like the way he's talking, the confidence is starting to come out. It's not there. Like, he tried to do commentary, he was not, a little quiet. So when he was trying to do commentary last week, but it was like, I love it because he's trying to do. I'm not gonna say he's trying to be Conan, but it's like you get that little sprinkle, like kind of his delivery and everything reminds me of NWO Conan, and that, like I said, that charisma, and you see that it's natural. That he's getting over naturally, and then when they do sprinkle in that Bound for Glory piece, this is where, going back to what we were talking about earlier, where I think this works. The NXT, the TNA cooperation, they're promoting each other. And I think I believe they promote more of the TNA stuff on NXT than they promote the vice versa, which is fair. And that's huge, because that's going to have people go, wait a second. If I watch next week, and let's just hypothetically say the last two in the ring, because remember, it's just an elimination style, the last two in the ring happen to be Santana and Trick. Then I can buy Bound for Glory in a couple weeks and watch them one-on-one. Come on, man. You just sold some pay-per-views.
That's a great point.
So I love it. I love the fact that they're positioning Santana here. I feel like it's something that is a new face of TNA. I feel like Moose has been that up there with that. They've kind of struggled finding that face of TNA,
Right.
but I feel like Santana can be that face of TNA.
I 100% agree. And I mean, I definitely don't want to just ignore the fact that the ladies kind of open this portion of the promo up out of lead.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings me to one of the conversations that I've been seeing in the IWC. Y'all know that I'm going to be paying attention to it. And a lot of it makes for good conversation on this podcast. And one of those things out of lead is the simple fact that, okay, the TNA women's team is led by Kalani Jordan, who's a NXT star, but she's a Knockouts champion now. Her tag partners in this are formerly the Iconics and formerly Jakara Jackson. So now, when it comes to that women's 4-on-4, all of the participants are essentially NXT homegrown talent per se. What are your thoughts when you see the point of, well, that's just a WWE match? What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that sentiment?
Not at this point, because there's an evolution, right?
For sure.
Now, for forget their shoot. That's, I think there's the real names, but anyway, for the former Iconics, I didn't even see them coming back to wrestling. I thought that had made their life outside of the ring. That was going to be it. So I didn't even see them in the ring. That's pretty interesting, right? But I think you're shortchanging wrestlers and evolution and those that choose to stay, right? Because we know NXT, we know WWE recruits a lot of athletes, right? We're not always going to be recruiting like the hardcore pro wrestling fans who want to become pro wrestlers.
Right.
So there is something to that, to those who are going to pursue this as their career. This is their way of life now. And to see them come back and not say, like, I'm above this. This is, I should be going to the main roster. I don't want to be in NXT again. That says something to the fact that they're willing to play ball. And I think it's for all of them, for everybody who is participating. I think there is that grander long-term view of saying, I can work, I can play, I can play with everybody. Right. I can be a good soldier, and this is going to be my showcase, right? So I don't think you can see it that way in terms of like, well, then you could say that, for other cases too, right? That we're not limited just to, NXT to TNA people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of those things where when I first heard that, my initial response was, dude, WWE was the training ground for a lot of today's pro wrestling. Like, I mean, we got to be honest in our arguments and our points and, go back 15 years. Who was training wrestlers at the highest level? Where was everybody pretty much trying to go? WWE.
There's
so
one place.
It's one of those deals where it's like, no crap, this person's a WWE product. No crap, this person and that person, because 10, 15 years ago, WWE was only show in town unless you were doing the indies, and then you were trying to get to WWE, So.
And I'm gonna jump on that because there's a point here, and someone who I would love to have seen to be part of this, Chris Bay, just because I've been hyping that dude forever now, and got unfortunate injury. But there's a dude, to your point, who, like, growing up, you have these kids, right, who, like, NXT is now a brand, right?
Right.
NXT is not just WWE, right? You have people who are in NXT, like a Roxanne who just graduated from there. Like, that was her bread and butter, like seeing the ladies there. Chris Bay was not a WWE guy. He was a TNA guy because he came in of an era where he saw, like, I want to be there. So it's an interesting point to see, who is watching now and who 10 years down the line is going to love these crossovers. And this is it. This is the wrestling for them. We have to recognize that.
Definitely. That's a great point. I'm trying to think what was the other deal that I had from that. Oh, when it comes to that women's tag match, I mean, we don't want to talk about it really on the pod or whatnot, but two of TNA's top women stars are pretty much unusable at this point because for certain circumstances. So I mean, it was kind of one of those deals where it's like, hey, TNA, they have to use Kalani as a member. They have to use formerly Jakara. Like, they have to use them because of the situation that's been handed, and that's just handling rosters or whatnot. But I'm optimistic about it personally because I mean I've said it multiple podcasts. NXT is one of the best weekly programs for me. And like Greg said earlier, we've been a huge fan of TNA wrestling for the past couple years. Consistently, top to bottom, one of the best pure wrestling. I mean, overall wrestling products out there. Promo, character, in ring, all around. But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a fun show on Tuesday. But let's go ahead and get into these ratings once again, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me add one thing about this. One thing I do like about how they did both these teams.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that Kehlani Jordan is leading the TNA team.
Same.
I love the fact that she won the title last week.
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden, like, look, I'm leading TNA. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a little bit of a star power, but it's also, hey, this is my responsibility. I love how she kind of took that on, and they put people in this match. There's strategic, right? There's a lot of strategy here as to why I think there's certain people in this match and not others. But I love that part, and I also love the flip side of the men's, where Trick Williams did not do that.
Right.
And they did not put him where, in theory, you would have been like, well, you're the TNA champion. You have to be on TNA side.
Right.
They didn't do that. You get Ricky Saints and Trick Williams. You get the NXT champion and the TNA champion over here.
And it's funny that you bring that up because that's something that was heavily criticized. And I'm just like, I pretty much was thinking exactly what you're saying. It's like, this shows the character of, and when I say character, I'm not saying like a fictional character. I'm saying the character, the person that Trick Williams is,
right,
compared to the character or morale of someone like Kehlani. Right. She sees it as a responsibility to lead that team, whereas he's like, I'm better than this whole brand. Like, it's character work. That's what it's supposed 100%. To be. So
100%. And I feel like when you're sitting there looking at these teams, and you got Mike Santana, what we just talked about, but then you add in Moose, perfect. Kazarian, perfect. And then you got Slater, not a household name.
And he was on television this past week, and he showed what he was. So
100%. But he's not Moose. He's not Kazarian from a recognition, name recognition, right? For sure. But I feel like you've done a good job with that. But also, in going back to the women for a second, so I know you kind of asked that question about the Iconics or whatever you want to call them,
right?
But I'm like, there's a reason you put these certain people on here, because you don't mind them losing. You're not going to destroy their character, because where you risk it, in my opinion, you take some of these TNA girls and you put them in that spot, and then they lose. You kind of lose some of that. Like, in my opinion, Jada Parker comes in and destroys a couple of those girls. She destroys Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay.
Right.
It is what it is.
Right,
but you come out here and destroy Tasha Steelz or somebody else like that that's more TNA related. It's like, oh man, NXT is just getting over on TNA. And then you can still have a jealousy angle on the back end. Why didn't you choose me? I should have been in that spot. Oh, Cassie, you lost. I should have been in your spot. We wouldn't have lost this match. I mean, there's so many things you can do with that on the side. So many. I think there's strategy to it. It's not always put all your top stars in there, because at some point somebody's got to lose.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Good point. Let's go ahead and get this rating going in. Out of lead, I want to know, did this segment or this portion of the segment or whatnot talk you into the building? And what are you rating it? 1 to 5 Dussies.
I'll give a solid 2.5. I mean,
Okay.
I'm right in the middle, and my questions almost are, or timeline wise, right? We're talking about Bound for Glory. We're talking about these hints at a longer storyline. How long is this going on? Is this going to be going on for the next 4 or 6 months, or is this seasonal? Right. In some ways, it does feel like a crossover. In some ways, it feels like an extension of like an excursion, like a New Japan sending the wrestlers elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, AW split from TNA, right, for a lot of reasons. What does that split look like when NXT is done with these storylines? Who stays, who goes, who's offered a contract, who's not? And I think that's where I'm sitting in the middle, because I'm sure the matches are going to be great, but what's the fallout? And that's what I'm interested in right now.
Got you. Greg.
So for me, I would say about, I was gonna say 3. It wasn't an overly impressive promo that talked me into the building. I was already
Right.
talked in. But knowing who the participants were, that was nice. It just, everything felt so predictable. That's what I didn't like about it. It was like, oh, once you said you're gonna have some, it's like watching most of the contract signings. You already know what's gonna happen. You know it's going to end in a smudge at the end, all that kind of stuff. It was well executed, but to me it was just very formulaic. So it didn't take me over the edge. Average, a little bit better than average, but not great.
I feel you. All right, I'm giving it 3. I agree with you guys. It's very formulaic. I've already been talking into the building, just being a fan of both of these brands, but I will give them credit on the production standpoint of being able to have those shots of everyone there, the highlights of those guys talking or the gals talking. And once it started getting rough and the action and all that, you had multiple camera angles and all of that. So in terms of grading the entire segment, I'll give it 3 with the production leading the way. And that's my opinion on it. But in the comments, let us know, what do you think about the NXT TNA invasion angle? Do you see it as a potential success? Are you skeptical about it? Where are the misses on it? What's working for you? What's not working? Let us know in the comments. And that's the end of today's podcast. We're gonna be just doing our normal thing, weeklies. On Saturdays, we'll drop our mini episode like this one. On Tuesdays, we drop our full episode. So once again, y'all, we're Talk 'em in the Building, a pro wrestling podcast that puts the focus on the promo. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and of course, we pontificate upon the promo. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Go Dogs, and we'll see you Tuesday. Peace.
You don't know what hard times are.